because I'll talk to you about gravity and all that shit, and I'll give you the dilemmas that you so graciously fell into. It's not your entire fault because you haven't went.
I fell into it.
I have,
Prominent.
but it doesn't matter. You gotta realize what kind of show you're on and what's gonna happen. Yeah, so well you did it. You blew it up. And it was a waste because you made some pretty damn good points. This is not the place for it because they don't listen.
Nathan good.
You won't be triggering Nathan. Nathan triggers himself whenever it is inconvenient to himself.
Don't be afraid about anything they throw at you. We all know you can be with bad guys all along. Don't be afraid about
I can't stand it when we get into that bad of a discussion. It's terrible.
Just keep fighting to reach your
Make 4 is just a complete mental case. He literally, I am literally just saying he is freaking possessed by a fucking demon. At some point, he's been acting completely mental ever since. All of a sudden.
Yes.
Because he actually used to have a pretty good personality.
Yeah, he has an anger control issue, really bad.
I was talking about Make 4.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Hey, I wanted to get your contact info now that I have a pen in my hand.
Right, it's Arwin7. I wrote it in the side chat, in the Google side chat. You can read that.
Okay. I don't think I can read it right now. I'd have to get back to it.
I'll spell it out, and then Jimbo, you can make the point, alright? You don't have to read it.
Sure.
Arwin, ARWYN7. Alright?
And that's your YouTube channel?
It's Arwin, ARWIJN.
And the other one is your
My Skype
Skype
address.
ID. Okay, so what time would you want to get together? Like today, maybe?
Anytime. Got all the
Okay,
time in the
maybe.
world.
Maybe I'll Skype in a couple
Right
hours.
now, that would be fine. But first, I think that Jimbo really wanted to make a point. So, Jimbo, go ahead.
Jimbo, go for it.
Still there, Jim?
Arwin, his point he wanted to make, he wrote in the chat, and you're a little bitch. We're like spelled wrong even, dude. How old are you, Jimbo? Like, should you be 50 or something? And the only point you can make is like,
I have
you're a
no
little
idea,
bitch.
but he's a complete deluded idiot that actually has some pretty good knowledge here and there, and then he convolutes it in the most horrendous way I have ever encountered in the Flat Earth movement.
He is like the best example of what's wrong with adults in America.
No.
He's exactly this example, dude.
No, he's just a very convoluted storyteller.
He's not
that loves
American.
to hypnotize people into shutting up.
He's Canadian, eh?
I don't care what he is.
Is he
He's
Canadian?
annoying
I
as
don't know.
fuck, and he has some really good fundamental points, but the way he actually puts it all together is so terribly convoluted. It's just a freaking mess.
So, Thomas, do you want to make this example with the bowling ball again? Because you couldn't even get to the first minute. So, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how it got up. Just to say, I just brought up the thing that with the rocks falling down the canyon because they were always there. Let's put it like this. So yeah, just use the bowling ball. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And these examples make sense, but it's not going to work on this debate. Okay?
Yeah, nothing works on this debate.
No, because if the explanation is going to be too elaborate and you're not just going to give them literally the scientific method to prove gravity, which is literally impossible, then they're just going to keep on interrupting you until you stress out and start ad hominem.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
One last thing.
That's this show.
Yeah.
But you got to realize that is the format of this show. That's what you're going to have to adapt to one way or the other. You're going to
I
get
came in here knowing that's what I was going to
That's
get.
how this freaking show works. If you don't like it, then make another one.
Can I say one last thing before you make the example? So the thing is, they don't even know what science is, because they always twist the words and they always put other explanation in it. But science isn't only observing the natural world.
It is to them. And it is
in
natural
reality,
only is they misconstrue it like so many other things like directions, man-made. That is all total horseshit, right? But the scientific method is indeed the right thing. Problem is, there's very little you can do with it, and culturally, the scientific community and science has become a culturally convoluted terminology that's no longer actually meaning what it's supposed to, because it has been convoluted in culture. And that's a big problem for everyone, because we're all used to using it like that.
Philosophers debate this stuff, like what words mean and stuff. I don't know, but it's
Math falls under philosophy. It's not science. It's
I didn't say it was
mechanics
science.
for models to clear things up.
No one
to
said it was
create
science.
complex
Right, Ryan?
hypothesis. You can't use it as proof. You can only use it as a tool to model out things and to construct complex hypotheses. It's not a foundation for proof in a scientific method. It's unfortunately the reality.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I looked up your name and got like this really, really gay actor, but it's obviously not you.
So let's go to the bowling ball, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I can see you.
You can. Okay. It's pretty simple. We just want to model a natural thing, a system, which is a falling object. So we're just going to say logical term falling object. No more bowling ball. And then we're just going to say math, and math is an analog for reality. Reality is the bowling ball.
No,
math
it's
is
not.
analog.
No, it's not.
But it's not. No, it's
a
just
construct.
a way. It's a construct. It's an analog, but it's not perfectly accurate. That's what I just wanted to say.
It's
Nothing
a
is perfectly
structure
accurate.
system to help you give oversight over the reality. It has nothing to do with actual reality. It's only a modeling tool to conceptualize things.
Well said. Absolutely. That's what I wanted to say. So all we're really doing is kind of like poking around, trying to see if this corroborates that.
Yes,
And
but that
talking
falls
about
under
corroboration.
complex hypotheses. It's
Right,
not
so what
the
we're
scientific
talking about-
method, unfortunately.
So, but what we're talking, I'm just trying to throw this out there for Nathan to try to get his head into what I'm talking about. So let's
He's not going to listen, and by the way, he's no longer in the panel, just so you know.
I understand. So let me just go real quick. So we just drop the ball and we time it. And then we know that we have the math equation that can predict how long it takes for that ball to fall.
Yes.
And so I'm not going to bore you with the semantics of it, but the thing is that this is the exercise. The flat earth community likes to talk about the word buoyancy and density. And we all know they don't know what they're talking about, and they throw the terms around like they do, and we know that it would never work. No possible way. The gravitational force is
It
required.
does work. The problem is it completely excludes a cause and the conservation of energy law, because they say the force just comes into being out of nowhere, and that can't work.
There's a direction. The force has a direction.
No,
that
there is actual look.
intrinsically-
Where there is motion, there must be a chain link of force, and they simply do not address this.
Bottom line is, all I'm trying to say is, if you try to model using math without gravity, let's just say gravity doesn't exist, so Nathan's putting together a mathematical equation to model the dropping of the falling object. And he's going to say, well, I want to predict how long it's going to take for the falling object to fall. He doesn't have the terms in his math to do it. He doesn't have the tools in his toolbox to accomplish that task, where math does.
I'll bring you one step further than that, and that is if they exclude gravity and say everything is just displacement due to volumic mass differences, then in a vacuum, objects, in a perfect vacuum, objects would displace themselves instantly to the bottom. Because there would be no ratio, there would be no limit. It would only be relative displacement, and it's not.
Sure.
Yeah, infinite
And
fast.
everything
Just
would
like
take on
the
the same
ether and light, gravity is like an ether to mass. It has a specific rate. It can't go beyond it, and that is a telltale sign. Just like the ether is with light. It can only be deduced. You can't literally point at it. It doesn't leave energy fields. It's a deduction but there is something there that is part of the entire mechanism.
And let me touch on that point real quick. I like to use the discovery of Neptune as another analog for math. Can
that's
prove.
ridiculous.
Well, they used math. They found the perturbance of the orbit of other bodies.
Yeah, that's really nice, but it's all still based on a presupposition squared, or actually a volumic presupposition, because it's presupposition that Earth has a radius, then a presupposition that one of the planets has the same size as Earth, and then the presupposition that they are actually physically bodies. So that's 3 presuppositions all folded into one that makes that giant mole, and there's no proof of any of it.
What are we talking about now? Because I was just going to talk about how Neptune was discovered. How Neptune was discovered.
Yeah, they saw a light. They saw a light there, and they figured
that's not true.
the pattern
that's
of that light,
Hang on.
how it moves in the sky.
Can I speak, please? Can I speak, please? If you study the subject, you can look it up. And the way Neptune was discovered is we've been studying the heavenly bodies for a long time, the luminaries, whatever you want to call them, and we noticed that the orbits were doing things that we couldn't describe, like it would make a change. There was a slight curve in the orbit. The planet would do something funny, and we couldn't describe it. This is
I'm
telling you the story. Hang on a second.
All the planets have been defined for millennia.
Hang on a second, though. Hang on. You're not listening to me. Modern astronomy discovered, I think it was 1946 or something. I can't remember when it was discovered. I don't remember when, but I read the story recently. And this is how Neptune was discovered, is they couldn't see it. They could not see it. They did not know it was there, but they saw the disturbance of the orbits of other planets. We know Jupiter disturbs the orbits. I mean, Jupiter and the sun are basically most of the mass of our solar system, and they're a binary pair. And the wobble in the sun is huge, and Jupiter creates a huge wobble in the sun. So these things affect each other.
Sorry, this is so. I'm not even going to thread here. This is so convoluted and presuppositional.
What you're doing now is
this is a 5-time presupposition. I'm not going
modern
in this
astronomy has
mechanical
observed this
puzzle
with telescopes. Modern astronomy has observed.
Shit. I'll talk to you about gravity, but don't start your presuppositional planet shit with me, okay? Don't do that.
Listen to how you're speaking to me. If I thought something you were saying was completely bullshit, would I speak to you like that in person, across from you, within arm's reach?
Well,
I would not.
If I didn't actually have a good argument, then yeah, sure.
The problem is your emotions are thinking, not your brain.
Oh, really? Oh, you know,
why are you saying
so well? How well?
Why are you addressing
my channel name? How do you know all this about me? I've been active here for 2 years. I've been on this freaking debate every day, dealing with shit, dealing with Riley, dealing with all the baller crap. And
I don't really care about that.
You don't know shit about me, dude.
I feel your pain. I don't care shit about you.
You don't even.
I'm not here to care about you.
You have no idea who I am. You don't know anything about
Can we stay on topic
I'm not
instead of
disrespecting you or doing anything wrong. I'm saying something that you don't agree with, and you're attacking me.
Can we?
Because you're talking horse shit. And I can explain to you exactly why, and I did.
Story.
Hey, I don't think he attacked.
This isn't my belief. I didn't make this up.
That you were bringing. That's what he attacked. He called the.
I'm telling you a story.
Not you. The presuppositions that you're bringing. That's what his aim is.
I'm not making presuppositions. I'm telling you a story.
You were about to, and that's why you're stopping it because he's not.
It's a presuppositional based.
Dude, this is a debate. It's third person. None of us made up any of this information. None of us is the author of any of this.
Well, I'm not going to discuss this idiotic planetary deduction-based information of how it's all supposed to.
Let me ask you this: does it even exist? According to you, does Neptune exist?
Well, probably
does it exist?
not. If it's not cited, then no, because there is no real other thing than sightings.
I have been following astronomy all of my life.
Oh, that's really nice for you.
Explain cited
really
to me.
Sorry that you
have
convoluted yourself into that region.
No, I'm just trying to get somewhere. What is cited? Define the term cited. C-I-T-E-D.
A light.
I'm still not understanding. I'm not following.
A light is seen.
A light in the sky.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. Okay, so does the
And
light
in the case
exist?
of Neptune,
And
nothing
is
at
it
all,
named
as you
Neptune?
just said yourself. It's a pure mathematical model-based deduction. So there is not even a sighting, apparently. It's just nothing. It's just made up.
No, it's been seen too. That's the thing. Well, let me
Oh, so
finish
it
my
has
story.
been. Okay.
Let me finish my story, then you can attack me. How about that?
I'm not
Save up
attacking
your
you, I'm
attack
just
for
asking
later.
arguments.
It'll be 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Super simple. So they see the disturbance of Pluto and other planets or whatever. They see Jupiter's moving around strangely. And then they predict that this object exists. They say, well, it has to have this mass, and it has to be in this position for it to have this effect on these other bodies. And so what they did is they described it, and then they said, okay, let's find it. And they started looking around, and their telescopes saw it one day. And then they looked at the math. They said, oh, okay, that's where it's supposed to be. That's how big it's supposed to be. It looks like we discovered Neptune by seeing how it affected the orbital path of other bodies. It's called orbital perturbance, or perturbance of the orbital path. And it's a really simple concept in astronomy, and it's been well defined, sort of like, you know, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of simple concepts that have been well defined in astronomy that are being denied.
No, I'm not denying that they are being used. I'm just saying they're all based on a pure model-based science fiction story that is all based on presuppositions of sightings and a certain pattern that has existed for over 3,000 years that was already there in the Ayurvedic astronomical calendar that has been extrapolated and reformatted into the heliocentric model. All of these pathways, all of these planetary motions and patterns have already been described for 3,000 years. Not a new astronomical thing. It's all been translated into the astronomical heliocentric model. It's all old news.
Why are you yelling at me? I don't understand your energy.
Because I'm very passionate about this, and I'm making a very good point.
I'm very passionate too. So let's just go ahead and cut to the chase. You're a conspiracy theorist, and you claim that knowledge has been marginalized to the point where we can't trust any photographs at all, right? Is that what you're saying? And so what you're saying is if I was to say the EPIC satellite that's 1 million miles away and takes pictures of Earth from space, that doesn't exist for you, correct?
Well, I'd probably take a photograph like that.
No, I'm talking about the live feed.
I can't respond. I can't. Can I respond?
I'm talking about the live feed from the ISS.
I know. Yeah, I just said.
Doesn't exist, right? Doesn't exist?
So there's no conversation with you, really.
Well, no, it's with you. Does the moon exist? Because Neptune's not very far away from the moon.
You're asking new questions while interrupting me, attempting to answer to
you know what?
how I would determine
you destroyed reality.
Or not.
I'm trying to find reality again. Your reality has disappeared.
Letting me answer the question you asked me. Right?
Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, don't interrupt me. How I would do it? It's very simple. You take an image, especially these satellite images, get the image in its entirety as presented, then having it algorithmically analyzed for fractal patterns. And guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen with that sighting, with those photos? Yeah, the algorithms are going to pop up very specifically. It's a fractal. Those images are fractal based. They're generated. They have been generated for a very long time. These satellite images have been appearing since the late 60s.
I understand.
The supercomputers from the CIA
I'm a
finally
computer scientist.
I
have a hypothesis
fractal patterns.
Listen to me.
At that time, there were no satellite images at all.
Listen to me.
There were only telescope images, and they were fake plots. Now I'm done. Now you can respond.
Fractal patterns can be found in images due to compression algorithms, and it's how colors are they're compounded. Like if the same color exists all over the image, they just put a hashtag there, and they say this is the color that exists here. And it creates sort of a fractal pattern because the same tag for that exact color in digital exists all over that image, because there's only 16.7 million colors in a 32-bit color scheme. And so when they make the color, it's very specific. It's not like an analog like the real world. It's not a fuzzy color that could be a combination of GB, red, green. It's a specific number of red, blue, green.
I know.
Photons being generated by the monitor, like it's very specific.
I know. So you are now admitting to me that
what
literally they are
as a
generating a new image based on actual footage to clarify what is actually seen. That is what you're now explaining to me. So you're literally telling me, yes, it has been generated. It's not the actual image. It's being enhanced, fractalized, worked out in detail further than actual observations are.
I want to address that. So when you take a picture of your child with your phone, is that picture real or not?
You take the camera away and you look at your child. There it is.
There it is. So you've just verified that what you're seeing through the camera is what you're seeing in the real world.
Camera away and still see it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's why your point is stupid.
You can make a beautiful painting.
What your argument is, what you just said.
You can
make a beautiful painting over photograph using the photograph as a blueprint to make an amazing detail painting. But guess what? That's not actually the picture. It's an artificial enhancement made by an artist.
I can make a painting of your child. I can make a painting of your child.
It's an artificial enhancement.
I just falsified your argument.
Yeah.
But if there is no child, then you make
disregard that Skype invitation.
I just falsified
You're not able to properly communicate.
If you can't see the child before you paint the child, you can't prove the child to be there. So your point still sucks.
We're taking a picture of something that exists.
No. Will you please respond to any of the things that I've just said to you about your points being terrible?
Are you talking to me?
Changing it again. Yes, you keep changing the goalposts. I keep telling you why your points are terrible.
What are you talking about? Go ahead. Take your case. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand.
My point is, if you paint a painting of a child that you've never seen, that doesn't make the child exist. If nobody can see the images that you're trying to explain to us without them being edited, then they don't exist.
You see my avatar? That's Jack Nicholson's face on the Mona Lisa. It doesn't fucking exist. I agree with you.
Okay,
I agree
so
with you.
That doesn't prove it. That doesn't prove Mona Lisa. That's my point. That's what your point is proving what you're saying, because it's not a real valid point. It's a logical fallacy entirely.
Can I make a point?
It's an artist's
Is it going to be another fallacy? Go ahead.
Actual visual things that
my
are
point
repeatable,
is
that
cameras
everyone
work.
can see. It's an
that a
artist's
logical fallacy?
rendition of
No,
an
that's
actual
not
observation. It's not the real thing.
It just became so semantic. Now we're trying to figure out if cameras actually work or not.
No, you're trying to figure out if cameras actually work or not. And it's
No,
a stupid
I'm
point.
asking you,
Again, nobody else is debating whether or not cameras work. What we're debating is whether or not those cameras are showing anything that's
the object in the photo.
that isn't edited with computer
graphic. Hang on, you guys. Hang on. This is out of control. This is out of control.
Yeah, it is. It is
Something that isn't natural.
Can you take a picture of an object and identify the object in the photograph? A guitar. Can you take a picture of a guitar and identify the guitar?
Yes, but if I take a picture of a guitar and then I take the camera away and I can't see the guitar, how am I going to prove to myself that that even existed in the first place? Now, that's what you're doing with that telescope that's fitting in all those colors. That's the problem. That's what you don't get.
I'm going to use a
that's
camera.
What you don't get. No,
where I
you
trust
don't get it. You don't get it.
I'm going to get to the point where I trust the camera. So what you're saying, okay, let's break this down. I trust the camera.
I see that the camera is
I
observing
trust
what I'm
the person
observing,
taking the
that
photo.
Instance of the camera.
Hang on.
I can verify the camera myself. That's why I trust it.
It's not the camera. It's the person taking the photo or the source of the image. The camera works. You can't deny that. We know cameras work. We're going to go ahead and put that aside. We know digital imagery can be manipulated. We're going to put that aside.
Why? Why would you put that aside?
Because we've proven it. We've proven it. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
No, really? Well, it's quite relevant in this point here. So
what's the point? We know we can admit
it. There's being things added on that are not really there.
So
it's an artist's interpretation. That's the point.
So we know the camera functions, and we know we can identify objects taken in photographs.
Yeah, when we can see the camera take a picture of something, and we can also see an observable reality with our own eye, we can agree that the camera is working. Now, if we take a picture of something that nothing else can ever see, then we can't agree that that camera is taking a picture of anything in observable reality because nobody can observe it except for the digital camera that's using computer graphics.
You're saying nobody can ever see the Earth from space, so pictures from space are fake. That's what you're saying.
Huge straw man. Stop
That is
feeding
exactly
me. We're
why
not
your
horses.
logical fallacies keep dragging you on and on. You're just ridiculous. You don't even know what you're saying. You can't put that to what we're talking about. That's a total other argument.
I'm not forcing any issue. I'm asking questions.
No,
I'm
you're
probing
forcing
you
us to ignore the
guys.
fact that
Straw manning. You're
how
not
strong you
responding
are.
to the
Yeah,
actual
you're straw manning
argument,
over
and
and
you're
over.
moving the goalpost and straw manning the shit out of
Constantly
us.
moving
I'm
the
asking you how
goalposts.
strong you are.
You're
How strong your
straw-manning the
opinions
shit
are.
out of us.
It's not an opinion. It's a freaking fact.
It is an opinion. Whether or not you trust a camera is a fucking opinion, bro. Whether or not you trust a picture
No.
is an opinion. It's a
It's an
personal
opinion.
I
opinion.
won't trust an artist's rendition of something that was originally taken with a camera, though.
Exactly.
If
Thank
you take a
That
picture
is
of the
exactly
moon
what
with your
we're
own
talking about.
camera, do you trust it? Do you trust the picture of you took yourself of the moon?
In what sense?
I would trust
What are we
any
even
picture of
talking
the
about?
moon. I
Outside
would
and
not,
take a
however.
picture, dude.
I
Use your
would,
camera.
but
That's
I would not, however,
You
take
guys are
a
really
NASA
slippery.
My camera away from my
zoomed-in
face
photo
and
of
still
the
see the
moon
moon,
surface,
then yeah, I can
where
trust it.
more detail comes to light when
Obviously.
you observe it,
Pull it
than
out
you
of your
could
pocket,
actually
point
do
it,
when
and
you
click.
zoom in with the camera yourself. That's what I don't trust, because that's an artist rendition.
Pull it out of your pocket, take the shot, look at the picture. Can you identify what's in the picture?
No, we got no chocolates there. We got the chocolates with us.
You guys want to dance around this like it's some kind of issue. I don't get it.
We're not dancing around it. We're addressing
Sure, yeah.
directly, and then you're straw manning us.
I'm not strawmanning anything, you guys. I'm
You're
saying, do
constantly
cameras
doing
function
it.
or not?
You're not responding to the concept we're laying in front of your face. You're not doing
What I'm
it.
doing is leading you down the path to
You're
paranoid
not
delusion.
addressing the artist rendition element. You're
Paranoid
not addressing
delusions.
it. You're straw manning it. You're just
Okay,
saying,
so
why
an
don't you
artist
trust
rendition
cameras? We do trust cameras.
is
We
fake.
just don't trust
Listen to
artist
me.
renditions.
An artist rendition is fake by definition.
Yeah, no
You
shit,
don't
it's
have
fake,
to trust
duh.
it. It cannot be
It's fake. Yeah,
trusted.
that's right. It's fake because
It's called an
created.
oxymoron, is what
No,
you're saying.
it's not an oxymoron. You just
Sure
said
it is.
fake.
I don't trust the
Because
picture
it
of the
has
Mona
been added
Lisa.
onto
It's fake.
actual observation. It's not an actual observation anymore. It's an artist rendition. It's a creation.
What about a fake of a fake? What about the Van Goghs that are fake and they can't find a real Van Gogh anymore? Have you heard that story?
Right.
Would you trust it? If
Well,
you saw
that's-
the Van Gogh, would you think
Yeah,
it was
well,
real
that's
or
not
fake?
actually an observation of a
But
phenomenon.
that's
a
falsifying your
painting.
argument.
A painting is an
Okay, you
artistic
guys don't
object.
understand
That's kinda
philosophical
different,
debate.
you know? It's not
If
an
you don't
observed
understand the
phenomenon. If you're going to look
falsification
at a
of your
Van Gogh
argument,
painting, you're not going to conclude you're looking at the real world. You're looking at a piece of
you don't
art.
understand philosophical debate if you don't understand that I just falsified your argument.
You can't. You're talking total
Come on.
shit.
Come on, you guys.
You're on
Come
the
you
level
guys.
of Rumpus right now. It's pathetic.
No, you guys don't understand. You
Yeah,
don't fucking
I
understand.
And Rumpus
You
does
say one
exactly
picture's
that.
fake,
Oh, we're all too
I say
stupid.
another
We don't
picture's
understand.
fake.
We don't get math. We don't get science, the body of science. You're doing that shit. Right
No,
now.
I
We
say
do
one picture's
understand.
fake.
We understand
You
in
say picture's
freaking
fake.
detail. Every single freaking detail. Because we're exposed to this kind of shit every single day for 3 hours a day
falsifying your
for over
argument.
2 years. We've heard
You're calling
everything.
fake on a picture.
We've heard
I can do it too.
everything.
It's your opinion.
We've
Your argument's
heard
falsified because
everything.
all
It's
pictures
close
can
to
be fake.
over 300 hours of debate. All right?
Really, that doesn't mean anything. That's a fallacy. Now you're throwing fallacies at me. I've been debating this
I've
long.
heard
I
every
win.
argument. I've heard this argument at least 20 times in the last 2 years.
What argument is the argument?
The
Define
argument
my
you're
argument.
making.
Listen here.
What is that argument? I don't know what
The
you're
argument
defining it
that
as.
an artist, that basically an enhancement, a digital enhancement of an actual observation is as good as an actual observation, because how else would you see it? Because you can't see it in reality. You have to artist rendition it, because otherwise you can't see it. Oh,
Sure. So a black and white photo that you take a picture of a car and it's a black and white photo that's got really bad contrast, so you can barely see it, but you're like, I kind of can see a car there. That's all I'm talking about is
right.
falsified.
I take the camera
You're
away.
falsified. That
and my eyes
falsifies your
see it.
whole argument.
I take the camera away and my eyes see it. That's confirmation.
But the thing is you're looking at a grayscale that's just a blur. But if you look closely and you start to recognize a pattern, you're like, that's a car. That falsifies
Yeah, but you
your
can
argument.
actually confirm that it is a car because you can see.
But
it
it's a
with your
real
eyes,
photograph.
You can approach
It's
it.
a real photograph.
You have actual proof that it's a real object. You can prove that.
What it is your brain is recognizing patterns on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I know, but you can
That's your
actually
brain.
prove it
That's
to
your
confirm
perception.
that it is an actual object. That's the difference.
I just falsified your perception.
No,
Your
you
perception is
didn't.
false.
I just told you you can actually confirm that it's a physical object. That's the difference.
So why are we arguing? If our perceptions are false, why are we arguing?
Because
Why are
there
we
is a
discussing
difference
them like
between
rational
that
people?
which you can confirm is a physical object and that which you cannot confirm is a physical object. That's why.
Right. Well, what you're
Right.
doing is you're presupposing that you can't confirm that the
Something
moon
that
can
you
be
can't
walked
see
on.
to
Hang
be
on.
real?
You're
Yeah,
presupposing
that's right.
the moon cannot be walked
presupposing
on.
that something you can't observe and confirm to be physical real to be physically real. That's right.
That's right. You're saying the moon can't be walked on without knowing it can't be
And
walked
you
on.
see it.
You've been falsified. It doesn't matter if you can
That's
see
right,
it or
you
not.
can see it. I don't
It doesn't
see
even
the
matter if it
footprints on the
exists.
moon. I've never
It doesn't
zoomed in on
matter.
the moon
You're
and
saying
saw
you
footprints.
can't
Where's
go
the
there.
flag? Where's the flag? Where's
You're
like
saying you
that part of
can't
the
go
moon
there.
landing
No,
pod
you're
right
false.
there? Where
You've
is
been
it?
falsified.
Why don't you ever see
You
it?
can't.
Have you ever seen
You
it with
can't-
your camera? Have you ever zoomed in on the moon and saw all these footprints right there? Have you ever looked any of that? Have you ever seen it?
It doesn't matter to me.
Eyes through an
You
actual
can't.
telescope.
They don't exist.
You
To
haven't,
prove your
have you?
denial, you
You
can't
haven't.
prove they don't exist.
Yeah, you're delusional, dude. And
That's
you're
not- I'm not
disinvited.
delusional.
You're
This is the same
disinvited.
as
I'm done
God.
talking
Can you
to
prove
man.
God doesn't exist? Can
Yeah.
you prove God doesn't exist?
Piss off, you moron. And God
And
does.
now you're like,
shit. Fuck you. What a piece of shit. Jesus Christ.
Can I show you something later, Orwin?
Now you can show me something now. I kicked him, so it's finally some piece
No,
of...
I wanted to show you something, Orwin. Ah, yeah. Just
Yeah,
like
take your
in
time.
5 minutes, I have to finish something first.
I appreciate our conversations, by the way. Just so you know, I'm just a little tired of this guy, and I'm tired of Rumpus shitting, like Nathan and Rumpus having a shitting contest for 2 hours straight, and every time I say a single fucking thing, Nathan has to like grill me for interrupting, like maybe 2% of the entire time, while everybody else talks all over the place and not gets a single word from Nathan to deal with that shit. But I like you because you're actually a decent human being. That's the difference.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of different opinions on the topic, but it doesn't mean that we have to shout at each other. As always, it's
At least have some decency to know to just back down. You know the stakes. You can actually see the stakes.
yeah,
That's the difference.
yeah. You know, it.
I need,
Many times
I need a breather for that guy, man. Jesus.
there are. I mean,
I wanted to ask him how
Crossover
much
between
he's
a
being
Rumpus
paid per
and
hour.
George Netanyahu or something. Jesus.
there are many claims I make that I can't really prove, right?
At
So,
least you recognize that, you know, and I respect that.
yeah. At the end, many things that I claim can also be proven by something else, but I just stick to the official explanation that it's due to that or that. So I'm going to show you a short video later about the solar system and how it would work on a flat plane, or how they.
Come on, dude.
Do you know this
that's
already?
dichotomy. You know that's a false dichotomy. Come on.
No, that they just observed the planets, and they tried to put this on a flat plane, the motion of the planets, right?
Based on the assumption that they are actually physical objects in literal locations, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So
Exactly.
the thing about this is either I accept that those objects are physical, or I think that those objects aren't physical. The thing is, I've never seen.
No, that's not what it's about. It's about actually having proof they
Yeah.
are physical or not. That's
Yeah,
the difference.
That's a problem because
I know.
you know, I have never seen a non-physical object unless it was like a hologram or it was a
Or
rainbow.
a rainbow,
Yeah, exactly. But
Or-
rain. Yeah.
or maybe an image on a screen. And what you're seeing there may suggest that it's a physical object inside there beyond your screen, but you know cognitively from experience that it's not. It's just an image. And the same goes for paintings. So yeah.
Yeah, the
all
thing
around.
about
It's all around.
Yeah, the thing about that is that anything causes. There's always something that causes those non-physical things, right? For example,
Well,
when you look at rainbows.
I approach it another way. There is a psychological mechanism in every human being to analyze whatever is observed and then draw conclusions as to its nature automatically. And physicality is one of the first conclusions the human subconscious draws whenever observing something.
Mhm.
It's called physicality assumption bias. It
Yeah.
works. It
So-
really does.
So let's go back to the rainbow. The rainbow is caused by light that comes from another source and from raindrops, right? From the humidity in the air.
That's right.
But when I
Or a prisma.
Yeah. So there's always something that that causes it, right? But when I look at the planet, that is non-physical, as you said, I can't see anything that causes the planet to be there, right? This non-physical object. So I am going to
It is
assume
not there.
it is physical.
It just appears to be there. It is somehow there through a process of which the medium, the total confine, is not known. To even get a clue as to what causes these lights, we'd actually have to know the confines. To actually be able to backtrack how this is working. And we don't have enough information to even begin to draw a conclusion as to how these lights would appear to observers the way they do at the moment. We just know the patterns that are observed, that's all.
Yeah, I completely accept this explanation, but you know, for me, I could. It's the same for me as believing everything that NASA says about the stars and stuff like this, because it isn't. It is counterintuitive to me that everything around me I see is physical. Either it is physical or there are physical things that causes things to appear non-physical, like a hologram, right?
Yeah.
And what I see.
To assume that all observations are caused by some physical origin, indeed.
Yeah. So when I look at a hologram, I can see often enough that the projector is bigger than the hologram itself. I've never seen a hologram that is on Earth. I've never seen a hologram that is bigger than the projector itself.
I have.
Where? Are you sure?
Yeah. The 3D images. Have you ever seen a Nintendo 3DS? Pretty impressive hologram for such a little device.
Yeah, but is the hologram itself bigger than the Nintendo?
It's pretty much the same size. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So I was talking about the hologram being bigger than the projector itself, you know,
Right.
because
Well, but that's an overgeneralization. That's not always true.
I've searched so long for this, and I've never
You can
seen.
actually enhance an hologram from a very small thing using certain mirror setups.
Yeah, that's a problem because the mirror are a part of the projector.
No, they're not. They're a part
Well,
of the confine in which the projection takes place.
Yes, that's what I meant. The setup is always
It's not
bigger than the
projector,
hologram
it's
itself.
just part of the reflecting.
Yes, but
stuff that
I
makes
would
it
call
appear a
it.
certain way.
I would call it a setup, and the setup is always bigger than the hologram itself, as I can
Well,
see.
we can assume that the Earth is probably bigger than the images that we see in the sky. It's probably not going to be sticking to a dome right there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'd see other observations.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Of course, the Earth realm is bigger than this apparent visual of the globe of the heavens that everyone sees. Absolutely.
So you could. Did I understand it right? You are open to the definition that those things we can see in the sky, those come from Earth, or how do you mean?
Well,
Because we were
I
talking
am
about the
assuming
projector.
that if there is a source for these projections, which
Mm-hmm.
there should be, if they are projections, then there is a big chance that they come originally from Earth somehow.
Ah,
It may
okay.
be wrong. It may be
Yeah.
indeed from outside the dome or whatever. I don't understand the entire setup to
Of
make a
course.
definitive conclusion about this. But yes, it has to originate from somewhere. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you know, the other thing I have an issue with too is if you look at the moon through a telescope or something like this, it really looks physical to me. The craters.
That's subjective. It doesn't look physical to me at all.
Yeah, that's really subjective. There, we could
Mhm.
talk a long time about this, but it wouldn't really matter because at the end, everyone else has a different opinion. So just saying that to me, it looks really physical with the crater and stuff like this. To you, it looks non-physical, and I really accept
Well,
that.
if you start out assuming they're craters, yeah, then it will definitely look physical to you.
Hmm.
But you're already starting out by classifying specific elements of the observation as a physical object because you feel like it kind of looks like that. If you do a real close inspection, you'll notice that all these shadow workings and all, that there's just blotches on there. It's not really a surface at all. It's completely inconsistent. And also, if there's supposedly craters on that moon, then why are they all straight on impacts? Why is there no scathings? Why is there no horizontal scratch marks from impacts? Why are there all straight ahead impacts?
That's interesting. I
Yeah,
would have to
it
look
is.
into the moon stuff once again. I never thought about this. Thanks you for the point.
I have.
Yeah. So you say that those things that look like shadows aren't really shadows, right? Those black things, those can't be shadows, right? Because you can't have a shadow on
Well,
a
there may
non-physical
be
object.
some kind of light increase decrease according to a certain pattern. I think that the origin of this light that causes the appearance of the moon is probably has some kind of fractal nature. It usually comes around a lot when
Yeah.
light and illusions are concerned. Fractalizing, like how do you call this? The kaleidoscope. You know, already has this nature. It's very simple setup. So yeah, there's a great likelihood that that light pattern, as it is visible to us, somehow is not exactly the source, but has just fractalized or reflected in a way that it has manifested visually the way it does to us.
Yeah. Oh,
That's how I
interesting.
see it.
Yeah. So
Aristarchus, Peachy, I would say.
is my assumption right that most flat earthers, including you, think that the moon has its own light source, right? So it's
I'm not even saying that the sun has a light source. I'm saying
okay.
they're all visual phenomena that just happen to coincide with a certain light that is coming from that direction at which that apparent disk, is the epicenter of that direction for some mysterious reason.
Mhm.
That's how I basically visualize it.
Yeah, hey, interesting. So, the light and the heat and everything we can feel during the day
Mhm.
isn't.
It comes from the light.
Yeah,
It doesn't come from that disk. It just comes from
So-
light hitting matter.
Okay, it doesn't have to come from the sun, right?
Exactly. It's just coming from the light, and we don't know where the light is actually coming from.
Okay.
But at the epicenter of the light's direction, there seems to be this phenomena of a disk
Mhm.
that looks very bright.
Yeah.
So our physicality confirmation bias will tell us, oh, that must be like a lamp because it's so bright and it feels warm on that side where that disk faces us. See?
Yeah.
Again, physicality confirmation bias.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Well,
that
if you
I-
actually go up towards it, as you go higher up, that
Mhm.
sunlight hitting you is going to warm up you up at exactly the same rate, while high up, the actual airflow is going to cool you off so much more that sunlight's not going to keep you warm.
yeah,
Even if it's going to be shining directly in your face. So you have no proof of actually approaching a light source, a source of heat. It's just the sunlight. That is the heat. That's the only thing that actually can be measured and can be proven to create heat. The sun, however, has no such proof.
Yeah, you can see when you are really high up, the outside of the airplane is like minus 50 degrees Celsius, right?
Exactly, because the sunlight's not sufficient to warm the material up versus the cooling process of the circulating air.
Yeah, I don't know what the official explanation is to this, but I think it has what also to do with
There is
air
not really,
density.
it's not really addressed. They're
Yeah,
just
I-
suggesting if you go closer to the sun, like really, really, really close in outer space, yeah, you'll start to feel the heat. Well, yeah, you'd have to go in outer space for that. So
Yeah, outer space is really cold to say. So I mean,
Well,
when you
it's
go
not
up
really
to
there. That's
yeah,
the problem. But
yeah, but when you go up in a mount on the mountain, it's getting cooler and cooler, right? The more up
even
you
if
go.
you're like laying right against the rock face,
hmm
the sun directly in front of you, you're still gonna be cooler than when you're on the ground facing the sun.
Yeah, but and yet you are going to burn faster. I mean, you are getting burn from the sun faster, right? Sunburn.
Well,
On the
there
mountain.
is less air in between to
Yeah.
actually absorb the certain types of radiation that come
Yeah.
with this light, that are
Like
a
UV.
natural part of this light.
Yeah, exactly.
Light is
UV,
being
A,
absorbed as it
UVB.
passes through matter.
hmm
So-
Yeah, I would have to look up the official explanation also to
I have-
that should explain.
It's very difficult, but I have no idea
Yeah,
why the light has all this spectrum, why UV radiation is coming in with the sunlight
hmm
and is being absorbed by matter as it comes closer to the Earth's surfaces. I don't know why this is. I don't know. I don't even know what's causing the freaking sunlight. So
yeah,
it's a big one.
yeah. I
Big
know
mystery.
it's really hard. So I don't really remember the explanation, right? So some part of the light.
They just say
spectrum
fusion
can-
reaction and it causes all this radiation. That's basically what they put it into. It's like
Yeah, I know.
fission from the hydrogen, and that causes radiation. So that explains the UV radiation.
Yeah,
That's
like-
basically their explanation.
Yeah, we can observe that, or we can fuse atoms into each other, right? This is possible. Or do you disagree with that?
It seems so, although, how do you say? Radioactive, or what is it? Nuclear physics. It's
Yeah.
kind of a blurry zone to me. There is a lot of misconstruency in that region as well, but the basic fundamentals, I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say like, oh, that doesn't exist, but I have no absolute confirmation that it actually does work the way they describe it.
Yeah.
But there seems to be that matter does kind of like is possible to leak in the form of radiation and its mass decreases. That is kind of a fact.
Yeah.
But what's actually happening, how that works,
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. I could follow the concept. It probably will kind of work out, but I have no actual confirmation that that is the case because it still falls in the same line of people saying that light has mass and is a particle, which is absolutely ridiculous.
oh, do people say that?
Yeah.
Who?
It's officially defined even. In
I don't
that,
think
li-
so.
that light particles, that photons, are supposed to be having this insignificant mass, and
Oh,
it's
they
ridiculous.
have momentum, they say, but they don't have mass.
It's ridiculous.
Did they say?
They have no proof for it.
Did they
And
say
that
they have-
also brings a big shadow on the entire quantum mechanics, because the quantum mechanics double slit experiment is based on light, and assuming that it is a particle, then, oh, look, it's at multiple places at the same time. But there's just no proof that light is matter. So quantum mechanics is actually kind of dispelled in that sense.
From what I remember is that
Because it's all about light, it's not about matter on a small scale.
Yeah,
It's
I've
not-
always been told that light has no mass.
It doesn't. But
So-
yet another branch of physics will say that it has.
Okay, it's strange. Never heard something.
Well, there's
from,
still a lot of contradiction
Yeah.
even within the accepted science community. They fight all the time.
Of course, because
The particleists against the wavists, and all
Yeah.
that shit just keeps on going for over half a decade or half a century.
yeah,
basically.
it was always like this. So when
I know,
humans
I
never
know.
got to the agreement what causes what. So science tries to do it, but science fails often enough. We can. The thing is, we can benefit from certain scientific ways, and we can benefit by like let's say like medicine and computer and stuff like this. So, but we never agreed on what actually causes it. We can benefit from it,
Right.
but
use the
people don't
process
really
and
agree on
use
it,
those
yeah.
patterns.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know?
And what I forgot. Yeah, about the light. So I normally hear that light has no mass, but it has momentum. So that would mean that if you
No, but even that is a false assumption.
yeah, I
Because
just hear that.
momentum would
but-
suggest that it is a particle and is actually changing its location. There's no proof of that.
yeah, that's
In
the
my
problem.
view, light is an instant arc between the beginning point and the end.
Mm.
And there is no velocity, there is no mass, there's only the connection.
So
That's how I see it.
you mentioned the quantum mechanic double slit experiment,
Uh-huh.
and that's what really bothered me when I think Quantum
Quantum Eraser? Yeah,
yeah,
he's an idiot.
he's a clown, dude. Because
He's a pretender clown.
yeah, he starts explaining about observing the natural world and stuff
No,
like
he
this.
dictates. He doesn't explain anything. He dictates.
Yeah, and then he comes and mentions the quantum experiment with the double slits.
No.
You know, and this.
Can I quote something for a
Yeah.
short moment, like 2 minutes? He actually had the gall in my face to tell me that the double slit experiment disproves all Newton's laws because light in his explanation has mass, and suddenly thus the laws of mass to which all of Newton's theories apply no longer work out. That's what he literally told me.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
In assuming that false assumption that light is actually a mass.
Yeah,
It's
completely-
total fuck up. And he
Yeah.
never retracted that.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
I'm not even going in conversation with that guy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I
back
scoff
in
at
2
him
minutes. Sorry.
openly. I denounce him openly, and I have.
Yeah, I'm going back in 2 minutes. Sorry. I have to
Yeah,
leave
sorry.
for-
Just wanted to make that point. I've been bottled up a lot of shit today.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck, man, that rumpusing shit.
Yeah, I'm coming back soon.
Terrible. Huh? Where you going?
I think he was talking to someone else in real life.
Alright. I'm gonna take a smoke break. I'll be back. So maybe see you in 2 minutes.
One, two, three. Now ready. Now ready. So here we go. Now ready. Oh, good lord. You came to play my game. Accept the challenge and prepare your aim. Post up, put your name in a frame. Get ready for some action in the villain's domain. You know you shouldn't dare the devil even once, cause you might slip in the trouble. Looking forward to renounce. Puppet boy, don't be afraid about anything they throw at you. Puppet boy, we all know you can deal with bad guys
back.
all alone. Puppet boy, don't be afraid about anything they throw at you.
Alright.
Boy,
Yeah.
just keep fighting to reach your milestone. Yeah.
You know it. I have two choices, right? Either I go with the official explanation that planets are physical objects and you know those orbits and stuff like this, or I go with the explanation that most people on the Hangout have, that those aren't physical objects and like I don't know that I don't even know what exactly they believe, right? So it's kind of hard, right? Because it's not really something that you can prove that those are not physical objects, right? And this isn't really science. So yeah, either I go with NASA and ESA and the Japanese and the Russians and every other country in the world that has its own space agency, or I go with the assumption that those aren't physical objects. It's, yeah, I don't know, dude.
Well, I'm pretty sure we can prove they are physical objects because we can tell how much mass they have. You know, like we can see them interacting with each other like they have mass and gravity. And if they didn't have mass, then they wouldn't interact. Like it would be different than gravity. You know, like they can mathematically map out how the stellar objects interact with each other through like gravitational equations. So, and we can also see as they approach the sun, they speed up, which we would expect to see, you know, if they were objects with mass that were being affected by gravity. So, I mean, I just the only reason the flat Earth people say, you know, well, they're celestial luminaries, we don't know what they are, is because they prove that the Earth is a sphere, and they don't want the Earth to be a sphere. So any evidence that says the Earth is a sphere, they will create an ad hoc hypothesis to dismiss it because they want the Earth to be flat. They have a confirmation bias for the Earth to be flat, but I think if you look at all the observations and evidence with, you know, an open mind, you can only come to the conclusion that the Earth is a sphere.
Hi, Joseph.
Hey, yo, what's up? Hey, Nominum wants to jump in here. So if he's listening, this is the Hangout link from the last Nathan show, right?
I can send it to him on Discord.
Perfect. If you can do that, appreciate it. Yeah, he want to jump in and talk for a little bit.
Yeah. So we were about that most flat earthers believe that the planets and you know, all the stars and the sun itself, the moon, are non-physical objects. So if you want, you can repeat what you said, Pete.
Oh, I just said, I mean, I don't know how to prove they're physical objects, but I would think that, you know, that we can witness them interacting with each other, like they have mass and gravity and all that, so, you know, we can mathematically map them out based on the gravitational equations. So if they don't have mass, you know, it'd be pretty remarkable, like, to me, since we observe objects that, you know, have mass moving around the solar system, and we can tell where they're going to be based on gravity. So
yeah, I mean, you know, the argument with i.e. that I can't see the curve, therefore it isn't there. I could say the same thing about those non-physical objects flying around us, because everything I can see around me is physical or is caused by physical things. You know, like of course the hologram isn't physical, but it is caused by a projector, and I can't see a projector in the sky that projects like Jupiter, for example. So.
And I think, like, we can tell the moon is physical because we can bounce radio waves off it, and to me, if it wasn't physical, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, you're right.
How do you know?
How do
How
I
do you
know
know
what?
it's not bouncing off something else?
Because if you aim the radio waves to the left or to the right or above or below the moon, they don't bounce back.
Really? Have you done this yourself?
No, I have not.
Well, then how do you know that's true?
Because I trust third-party sources, Arwen. If I don't trust third-party sources, that's not a problem. That's only a problem to you, Arwen.
You trust all third-party sources?
I mean, we can only... Not really, I guess.
Yeah, well, there
How do you determine who's credible? The government's credible automatically?
It depends how many.
It's pretty hard to determine who's credible.
It depends on how many, so it's quantity. So if you have enough governments, then it's automatically
We're not talking about government. We're talking about amateur radio enthusiasts who can do this. It's not comes from
really. So how many on record have done this? According to
how would I know that? What I was going to say
was it depends on how many and the relationship to each other.
But how do you even tell them the truth about their relationship to each other? I think the fact that there's so many clandestine operations that are happening, acknowledged to be happening between governments, is strong indication that we can't understand the relationships between governments as civilians.
Yeah, I was talking about I was talking about
civilians. The
private
problem is
and-
civilians can bounce radar off the moon. This isn't like NASA is saying this, and you know.
I don't-
like,
I
you
doubt
can
whether
verify
that's-
this for yourself.
Well, why don't you? Why don't you verify
Why?
this?
Because I don't fucking want to. Why the fuck would I want to do
thing
that?
is-
If you love believing and you got just a...
Look,
I have no
Alwyn.
problem with
No,
belief.
no.
I don't want to be a
But
nihilist.
yeah, you
'cause
can't
I
say
think
you can
guys
do
are
it for
idiot.
yourself
You're an
and then
idiotic
refuse
nihilist.
to do it for yourself.
I don't have to do
No,
it for myself.
Yeah, well then don't
I don't want to be a
suggest that you
nihilist.
can
I want to
do it for
believe in
yourself
things.
because
I don't
that
want to
would
be a
be
nihilist
information
because the
this.
CIA was pushing nihilism the same as the flat Earth. You guys are trying to push nihilism on people, and it's ridiculous.
No, wait.
I'm not
No,
pushing
no,
that.
no,
You
no,
just
don't get
did.
this
You
past
just
because-
did.
Really?
Arlen.
How?
You're telling me not to
By
believe
asking
in. You're
for
mocking
personal
me for
information.
believe. No, because you're mocking me for believing in something. That's
Let's not go
nihilism.
down
you
this-
It's not
retard.
nihilism.
Guys,
What
What
please.
is
called
nihilism?
skepticism.
What is nihilism?
Guys, this isn't
It isn't
productive.
nihilism.
What
I don't
is
even
nihilism?
know what nihilism is.
Oh, then
I
why are
know.
you telling me what it's not nihilism? You don't know what nihilism is.
Because it's skepticism. We have a better definition for what we're
So
talking about.
No, it's
look it that
nihilism.
way, guys. Please. Wait.
Okay, what's nihilism, Pete? Can you define it, please?
Can I say something
Nihilism,
about the
rejection
Wait,
of
wait, wait.
all religious and moral principles, often in the belief that life is meaningless. Extreme
Okay, well, that doesn't seem
skepticism,
to have-
maintaining that nothing in the world has a real existence. It's basically like you don't have any beliefs.
Okay, well, that's not what we're talking about here.
Nihilism is a philosophical viewpoint that suggests the denial or lack of belief towards the reputable, meaningful aspects of life.
Well, what's what you consider reputable and meaningful? I don't consider
You guys
NASA
act
reputable.
like belief is a bad word. Like, it's ridiculous.
No, it's not. NASA is not reputable to me, so it's not a matter of nihilism. It's a matter of skepticism.
Can we go back to the moon thing
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
moment? So Arvin asked, "Did you do it by yourself?" Then of course I didn't. Pete didn't either. But the thing is that many people claim to have done this. So if someone else who doesn't believe this wants to take this radio wave thing and aiming it at the moon and see nothing comes back, any one of those so many people has to have done this, and at the end he would be able to prove it and see, look, I disprove your claim. There aren't bouncing any radio waves out of this, and anyone could have done this. But
Well,
I
what if
see
somebody?
that.
What if someone? What
There
if I?
have been people on YouTube saying exactly that.
really?
Yeah,
So-
really.
There's no point in arguing it if you haven't demonstrated it, because it's just someone's word against someone else's word, none of which we know, right?
Then we wouldn't be
It's
able to
not
have
very-
any conversations if we can't talk about anything we haven't done ourselves. That's preposterous.
Really?
How can
What-
how can you have a
have you
conversation
have
if you
done-
can only
you
talk
can make
about things you've
photographs
done
yourself.
yourself? That's ridiculous.
There's
you
all
can't even
kinds
have
of
a
things you can
conversation
do
with
yourself,
anyone.
and we do.
I
So
just
what?
genuinely don't think that you can bounce radio waves off the moon, so we have to that's the starting point of the conversation. I don't think that that's been done. I really don't. So what do you want? What do you want me to do? That's how I think.
I mean, I don't care
So
what you
try-
think. But to
Well,
act
that's what
like
I'm-
to act like I can't talk about
If
something
you're
because I
gonna make
haven't
a
done it
claim that
myself
everyone
is
can do it, then do it.
preposterous. Like, what the
I don't
fuck's
think
wrong
you.
with
I
you?
think you're.
If
I
you're
don't
going
think
to claim that
you
anyone
like
can
the
do it,
reason.
then do it.
Oh.
Talk about whatever
Why
you'd
do
like.
I have to do it? You're the one who's claiming
Because
that you can't do it.
you're the one making the claim. That's why. If you're
So
gonna claim
what?
that
You can
everyone
believe
do
me
it,
or you
do
cannot
it.
believe me. I don't care.
I don't
Well, we're
care.
arguing-
that
Why don't you?
don't care
Why
that
you're
we don't
making
do
the
it.
you're making a
If you're gonna
claim that
claim
people
everyone
can't
can
do it?
then do it
Why
or
don't
shut.
you? Why don't you do that? Why don't you show that
Uh,
people can't do it?
I
You're
found
making that
something.
claim
I found
too.
something.
But only I have to demonstrate for myself the claims I
Oh,
make.
really?
But you
well,
don't,
prove to
Arwen?
me that I don't have a unicorn in my basement.
Here, I have something here about this. Here, there's something called Earth.
false
Earth.
equivalency,
That's the same-
logical
that's the
fallacy.
same
Thank you
If you're
very
going to
much.
prove something is there, then you have the burden of actually proving your
I can. There's something
you
called
want to make
Earth.
claims.
That's how that
You want to
works.
make
That's how it
claims,
works.
and you don't have to prove your
That
claims,
works.
but I have to prove my claims because it's
Guys, I
Yeah,
can.
because
not
you're the one
fair-
making a
Can I
claim,
get a-
not
fair
me.
person.
Can I get
You're
a word
making the
in?
claim,
You know
dude.
what? this is not the Nathan show, so we can take a different approach at things.
Yeah.
Arwin, you don't have to get so jumpy, and Nomi also, in a good way. This is more of a discussion, We can do thought experiments and shit, It's just my take on this. I'm just jumping here, but I see this as off the Nathan show, so we don't have to hold on to the same format and the same, corner and prove it and show me evidence. Let's do a more of a discussion type of thing, I think it's more enjoyable.
But I can show you
I'm not
something.
here to prove shit to you
No,
guys.
I can show you. I can show you this Earth. There's something called Earth Moon Earth communication, and there are many. I can show this. This is even on Wikipedia, but you don't expect. I don't want to believe that. I just wanted to show you the thing, and you can look further into it, and then you can verify for yourself. Does it make sense to you, or doesn't it?
There's some pretty strong arguments against the concept. Like, for one thing, what do you mean by aim a radio wave?
Yeah, look at the. Here is the Wikipedia article about this. The Earth-Moon Earth communication is also known. Moonbounce is a radio communication technique that relies on propagation of radio waves from Earth-based transmitter directed via refraction from surface of the moon back to Earth-based receiver. So many people do that. And here,
how do you know it's the same radio wave coming back that you sent out? For one, do you know how are they establishing that?
Yeah,
because when they do the same test with lasers, they claim they only get one photon back.
Why do you ask stupid questions?
Because I can answer that. Because in order to communicate with this method, you have to get the same radio waves back that you send, because otherwise you wouldn't get a message. You have to code. You have to code this.
There's no message that they're sending that they're getting back. It's just straight. It's just
it's communication.
Can you prove that, Nomi? Can you prove that, Nomi?
Contact. It's only
Where's your evidence, Nomi? Prove that.
Well, I've looked into this, and I'm just speaking about it.
Show your source and your citation, please.
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm just...
okay.
Stop triggering.
I guess
Why
I
are
just
you-
have to believe you.
No, you don't have to believe me. Don't believe anything. Look into it yourself. I'm saying that what you're mistaken about here, and if you look into this, you're going to find that this is the case. They're not sending a coded communication signal and receiving it back. They're just sending a frequency. And then when they detect a similar frequency returning, they're like, oh, that must be the one we sent.
And what does the returning frequency say?
I don't know. I'm just saying, is there what evidence, like there's all sorts of radio frequencies bouncing all over the place. So I'm saying, how are they establishing with certainty that the one that they sent is the one they're observing? Assuming that this even happened, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying, how would they know with certainty? Because when they do the similar kind of test with laser, radio waves use light, right?
Yeah, I know. It's everything is electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah,
okay.
I know
Just
what
glad
it
that
is.
you understand that point. But when they do this with a laser test, if you look up the laser bounce or whatever, they claim that they only get one photon back most of the time. So when they do this with a radio transmission, you think they're going to get more than that when a laser is actually collimated and focused? They're not receiving a signal. They're not receiving a transmission of coded radio data. They're just getting a ping back. So I'm saying, maybe these amateur radio astronomers, when they try to do this, all they're getting is just some noise in the same frequency range, and then they're like, oh, look, we got it. How do you know that that's not happening? I think that that's probably what is happening. But I'm just saying that...
What reason do you have to think that? It seems like a preposterous
I just
thought.
explained it. I just explained it.
Yeah, but
I'm saying
your reasoning is retarded, dude. Are you fucking autistic? Like,
No,
are you
please don't
vaccine
insult.
injured? You're
Contradict
fucking
his
retard.
statement, P. Mars? Do you have
please.
anything to actually contradict
No,
him?
I would just like
Because you
a
haven't done it
fucking
yourself,
good reason
so
for him to
who's
think
talking?
this. Like, he has no fucking good reason to
Hey,
think
let me
this. It's just
explain it again.
retarded.
You have no good reason. You
Can I just-
refuse
can I
even to
explain
do
it
it
again?
yourself, P.
Yeah, I
Guys-
attempt to.
Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot.
Can we be a little bit more polite here, please? We don't have to shout at each other.
Please don't
please,
repeat
guys.
yourself, Naomi. It was painful enough to sit through it the first fucking time.
No, I have a point I would like to
You
make.
have no point. You have no point. You
don't
have no
know that.
argument. You're
Listen, Zinder, are you
illogical.
interested
You're a
in
fucking
hearing my point?
brain-dead retard. get sniped.
Are not our generic